Vintage Kids, Miss Lauren here. I'm at home just like you, and I've really been missing our classrooms. So today, I decided to join you for the lesson, and I'm so excited that we get to do it together. So, over the past few weeks, we've been studying a particular person in the Bible and his obedience to God and how his situations have caused him to have to trust in God. Do you remember his name? If you said Daniel, you're correct. Last week, we learned how Daniel taught the kings of Babylon, which is where he was in exile, about how man doesn't build a kingdom, but only God allows him to build that kingdom. And isn't that awesome? Because that's also going to help us remember our catechism question. And our catechism question is, how can we glorify God? If you say, by being obedient and loving God, then you are correct. And it's kind of cool to be able to study Daniel and see the ways that he kept trusting him and loving God and obeying God's commands, even when he wasn't in his home. And he and his friends got protection and was cared for by God. So today, we are going to look in Daniel 6 to see another way that he learned how to trust God. So when you're at home with your parents this week, you can read over Daniel 6 again and see if anything else stands out to you. So I'm going to read it to you. It starts out like this. The new king of Babylon, King Darius, reorganized his kingdom and appointed governors over different areas. But Daniel was so smart that the king decided to put him in charge of the whole kingdom. The governors were jealous and got together to find a secret in Daniel's life that they could use against him. But as they searched and searched, they couldn't find anything in his past. Nothing he has left out or done wrong. So they finally gave up and said, we're never going to find anything against this Daniel unless we can make up something religious to trick him. The governors got together and made a terrible plan. And they went to the king and said, King Darius, live forever. We have met and made this announcement. For the next 30 days, no one is to pray to any god or person except you, O king. Anyone who disobeys will be thrown into the lion's den. Issue this announcement, O king, and make it unconditional, as if written in stone, like all the laws of the Medes and Persians. King Darius signed the announcement. When Daniel learned that the decree had been signed and posted, he continued to pray, just as he had always done, praying to God. His house had windows in the upstairs that opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he knelt there in prayer, thanking and praising his God. The governors came and found him praying, asking God for help. They went straight to the king and reminded him of the royal announcement that he had signed. Did you not, they said, sign an announcement forbidding anyone to pray to any god or man except for you for the next 30 days? And anyone caught doing it would be thrown into the lion's den? Absolutely, said the king, written in stone, like all the laws of the Medes and Persians. Then they said, Daniel, one of the Jewish exiles, ignores you, O king, and goes against your rule. 3 times a day he prays. At this, the king was very upset and tried his best to get Daniel out of the fix that he had put him in. He worked at it the whole day long, but then the governors were back. Remember, O king, it's the law of the Medes and Persians that the king's law can never be changed. The king caved in and ordered Daniel brought and thrown into the lion's den. But he said to Daniel, your God, to whom you are so loyal, is going to get you out of this. A stone slab was placed over the opening of the den. The king sealed the cover with his king's ring, fixing Daniel's fate. The king then went back to his palace. He refused supper. He couldn't sleep. He spent the night fasting. He was so worried. At daybreak, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den. As he approached the den, he called out anxiously, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve so loyally, saved you from the lions?" "O king, live forever," said Daniel. "My God sent his angel who closed the mouths of the lions so that they could not hurt me. I have been found innocent before God and also before you, O king. I have done nothing to harm you." When the king heard these words, he was happy. He ordered Daniel taken up out of that den. When he was hauled up, there wasn't a scratch on him. He had trusted his God. King Darius published this new announcement: "Peace to you, abundant peace. I say that Daniel's God shall be worshipped and feared in all parts of my kingdom. He is the living God, world without end. His kingdom never falls. His rule continues eternally. He is a savior and a rescuer. He performs astonishing miracles in heaven and on earth." And he saved Daniel from the power of the lions. From then on, Daniel was treated well during the reign of Darius, and also in the following reign of Cyrus the Persian. Do you notice what happened to Daniel in this story? He had earned such favor with the king that he was the one in charge, and the other governors did not like that. The ones who were below him thought that it wasn't fair. So they decided that they wanted to take matters into their own hand and got the king to make a plan. But they thought that Daniel was going to end up dying. But it's through how Daniel responded that is so amazing. He trusted in God even when he heard that the rule was if he prayed to anybody except for the king, he would be thrown into the lion's den. I have a few questions I would like you to think about over the week and see if you can write them down in your journal, reread Daniel 6, and see how it can help you to remember to trust in God. One of the questions is, how did Daniel respond to the king's announcement about worship? Did he continue to pray to God, or did he decide that he should stop praying? He trusted in God and continued to pray. That's right. Even when he heard the law. And when he found out that he could be punished for worshiping God, how did he respond? Did he stop worshiping God? No. He continued to worship God. And he was honored. And then, lastly, think about this. How did Daniel's actions show God's care and faithfulness to the king? The king was so distraught that he had thrown Daniel, who he had learned to love and trust, into the den, and he thought, oh no, he's going to be gone. But in turn, God saved Daniel. He didn't even have a scratch on him. And it caused the king to believe in God. That is amazing. And I think you guys can journal about this, draw a picture, reread Daniel 6 to understand that as long as we're faithful to God and trust and obey Him, He will make sure that we stay safe. Thank you for joining me today virtually in our classroom. I hope soon we'll be together. But I hope that you also have a great week. Bye!